At this point, it's just getting old. Like, every time I come across a multi-billion-dollar company in entertainment that goes through this massive way of layoffs, massive wave of them, and I'm like, oh, hey, look, here's a company doing this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. Well, what more can be said? Like, be, I'm trying to paint this idea of a company. Like, what's the perfect company in your head, right? Is the company that puts out a product that people want to pay for, that people want to buy, and that company gets wealthy, it gets rich, it makes a lot of money, and that's just the way it is. The consumer is happy, the company's happy, and all in all, everyone's in a good place. But what's happening now is you have companies on one hand boasting about this just having massive profits, so like tripling their bottom line, like Activision, like the Bungie, like Hasbro. Then you see on the other hand they're having mass layoffs. Like, I think a good example of this is Bungie, because they've laid off a good amount of people who've worked there for 20 years. They even laid off the fucking music composer. Now, Destiny is a very flawed game. I'll be the first to shit on Destiny. But it has some good fucking music. They laid off the fucking composer. And you gotta ask why, right? It's like, okay, I'm assuming Destiny is hitting its final leg and they're just cleaning house early. So it's less of a fallout later, whatever. But Hasbro, they make cards, and people buy cards. Like, but no, Hasbro is a very progressive company. I think I think Wizards of the Coast is under Hasbro too. Yeah, I know Wizards of the Coast for D&D. Like, they got rid of slavery in the D&D universe. They got rid of evil races. They make all the characters, all the races be as androgynous as possible. So they erase sex appeal. They do all of this, and same thing with Magic. They do all these things that they know their consumers hate. They know they're going to get backlash, but they have this odd mindset that, oh, the people that came before us, they were idiots. They didn't understand. We're standing on just the we're standing on the shoulders of giants, people that came before us, people that came in this company before us, and we're just pissing on it. We're pissing on their shoulders. So, oh, but we know best. We know what the consumer like. We know what they want. And oh, if the consumer has a problem with it, oh, well, they're just racist. They're bigots. They're not actual fans. They're this, that, and the other. Oh, but let's cater to the people on Twitter who do not play our game, who do not buy our cards, who do not interact with our communities. They're our consumers now. And it's like, at what point does this end? Like, at what point? And you see this through so many fucking companies. It's like they're copying each other's fucking homework. One of these companies have to be like, you know what? Maybe we should just make money. Oh, but we can't do that because, like I said in the whole DC Rebirth project, there's so much malice within these people that they'll just leave. And that whole, it's like, oh, we have to actually work for a living now? Nah, we're leaving. And it gets scrapped. So, Hasbro's Christmas layoff have deeply impacted the D&D and Magic teams. Yeah, no shit. It's an overbloated company that believe that, oh, because we're making all this money, let's hire all these people, hire all the, like, speak all these platitudes, this, that, and the other, and it can't hurt us. But then people are like, well, we don't want to buy your product anymore because your product's the bare bones. Like, it's just a bare bones product now. It's like, for D&D, yeah, you can homebrew your own campaign and do whatever the hell you want. But it's just like, why would they go down this track? What do they gain? Are they scared of getting sued? Are they scared of the people's backlash on Twitter. CEO Chris, that's an unfortunate last name, blames poor sales in its toy divisions. Yeah, again, this is proof that it's failing. The toys, the product, it's not selling. Game and toy maker Hasbro announced that it will cut roughly 1,100 jobs on Monday. When added to the 800 layoffs made earlier this year, the total amount to just less than 1/3 of the company's entire labor force. Exactly. It's become just overly bloated company, and now that people are turning away from it, like people are just losing jobs. The news come exactly 2 weeks ahead of Christmas, traditionally the biggest holiday of the year for games and toy sales. Yeah, like imagine before Christmas, you're like, oh, Merry Christmas, you're losing your job. It's like, huh? So yeah, because we, the upper management of company, decided to make such the worst company decisions ever that many other companies are doing. So they think they're immune to this because other companies are doing this. Oh, we can do it too. It's like, okay, I guess if you want to lose money, fine, but no, people just moving anime. I mean, we enter 2023 expecting a year of change, including significant updates to our leadership team, structure, and scope operations, said CEO Chris Koch in a memo to his employees that was shared with Polygon. We anticipated the first 3 quarters to be challenged, particularly in toys, where the marketing is coming off prehistoric pandemic-driven highs. While we have made some important progress across our organization, the headwinds we saw through the first 9 months of the year have continued into the holidays and are likely to persist in 2024. Well, that fucking sucks. The news likely comes as no surprise to insiders, including investors who have been tracking the shortfalls of the company's toy portfolio for some time. Meanwhile, Hasbro's subsidiary, Wizards of the Coast, which publishes both Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, is experiencing all-time highs for both revenue earned and the number of players engaged in those brands. Activist hedge fund AltaFox attempted to push the Rhode Island-based company to spin off Wizards in 2022, but the effort was defeated in a high-profile shareholder election in June 2022. Who now the 100-year-old company is left to rebuild in 2024. Okay, so apparently Wizards of the Coast is boasting massive profits and sales, but they're still laying off people. I mean, I'm pretty sure they lost people because of the aforementioned things, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. They're boasting profit, but they're laying off people. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, where did my mouse go? I lost my mouse. Polygon reached out to the tabletop team impacted by these layoffs, including Avalon Hill, Magic the Gathering, and Dungeons and Dragons. One representative said that the company is not sharing breakdowns on geography or teams out of respect of employees. Well, I'm pretty sure it's because it wouldn't make any sense. It's like, well, okay, we're making money, but we're laying about 1,100 people off, plus the 800 earlier this year. I'm pretty sure that it would share these things. People would be like, well, wait a minute. That doesn't make it. I think it's fine to just, layoffs and losing jobs are bad, but if you, these are things you should know years in advance. If you lay off like 250 people, okay. But 1,000 people? Like, what the fuck's going on? Cost cutting is not a strategy, Koch added. It absolutely is a strategy, Cox. Why are you being a cock about it? Like, we're not dumb. We know this, and that's why we'll continue to grow and invest in several areas in 2024. What does this have to do with laying off people? Like, man, it's the corpo speak. You get it with these companies that claim to be progressive and social justice, but they're probably the most capitalistic acting companies, right? It's like, oh, we're making money. Well, what do we want to do? Well, let's lay off people to try making even more money. Sounds good. It's like, huh? You know, you could also just put out a product people want to see, right? Like, I look at some of the arts of the newer Magic cards, and they look okay. I mean, they get the idea across. But then you look at some of the art in Yu Gi Oh! And you wonder why, despite all the damn changes, people still play that game. It's just like, huh? One area of investment for Hasbro appears to be the video game sector. The latest Project Exodus made a big splash last week at the Video Games Awards, following the success of Baldur's Gate 3, which was produced under license by Larian Studios. Wizards' own Archetype Entertainment's appears to be a solid footing. Founded by veterans of BioWare, the studio behind Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter, and the Mass Effect trilogies, the game will be released on PlayStation 5, Windows PC, and Xbox Series X. It currently has no release date. We'll see, but that's the thing, right? I heard that when Baldur's Gate 3 was in beta, and between then and Baldur's Gate 3 now, like, I don't think a single person that worked on the beta is still on the team now. So, when you say teams that have worked on these, like, what do you mean? Like, 1, 2, 3 people that still remained out of, like, the 20 that used to work on these? Like, Neverwinter Nights, in my opinion, is just better than Baldur's Gate 3, period. But Baldur's Gate 3 is still a good game, right? It's just, and story-wise, I think Neverwinter Nights just blows it out the water. Everyone knows what the Mass Effect trilogy, like, even as bad as 3 was with the ending, it's still memorable. It was still a memorable trilogy. And obviously, Knights of the Old Republic is just better than all of them. Like, yeah, hands down. Hasbro stocks have fallen some 20% this year, according to the Wall Street Journal, with today's price down slightly on the news. Today's price down slightly on the news. Long-term investors, meanwhile, are expected to continue to earn dividends at a rate of 5.8 annually, according to Google Finance. Cox earned a reported $9.4 million last year. His first year as Hasbro CEO at the new price point of $59.95. That's roughly the equivalent to 156,797 copies of the Player's Handbook. I mean, goofy investment stuff. So he makes all this money, right? But still needs to lay people off. Like, don't get me wrong, right? CEOs make a lot of money, but if it's between laying people off, because that looks bad on paper. Well, you got 9.4 million in your pocket. I mean, I think there's a discrepancy somewhere. Now, if he was just to make 9.4 and people just stayed at the company, that's like, okay, yeah, whatever. The company's clearly doing good, but again, it was Nintendo's CEO that whenever they were going through the whole COVID thing, he opted to take money out of his fucking pocket just to keep food and jobs for his employees. And he gladly did this. So it just boggles my mind why a multi-billion-dollar company, a CEO that makes about 10 million a year, would rather just fire people. I mean, and then again, people who've worked at this company for about 20 or something years is like, okay, that's fucking weird. Update December 13. As on Wednesday morning, social media posts in the wake of Hasbro's cuts show the impact across Wizards of the Coast, from IT staff to presenters of the game, designers, and artists. Layoffs even include foundational members of the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons team. So this is exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. They're firing people who've been working for a while. It's like, okay, meaning that some of those who built the most successful version of the seminal RPG will not be there as it turns 50 in 2024. This is exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, okay, maybe to normies, they're like, okay, whatever. But but to people like me who actually has a degree in business, this is just something that doesn't compute. It's like, does the CEO want to make 15 million a year instead of 9.4? And the only way to do this is to fire people, or is the company like, are they projecting losses in the near future and they're just firing people to offset that loss? I mean, okay, both of these don't make any sense. Or at least the action of laying off doesn't make any sense as a result of both of these things, but see what the comments say. Okay, we're already in the comments. This is a very clear move to protect the CEO's job. Massive cuts to the 2 divisions of the company actually make money. The company actually make money. So massive cuts to the 2 divisions of the company that actually making money. It's just so that he can get a nicer number on a spreadsheet, so the shareholders hopefully let him hold a little longer. Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. Because usually the CEOs usually take the fall on most of these things. Well, he has but the CEO has a golden parachute to another company. But I mean, the employees that he's laying off, and again, to the divisions actually making the money, this is just something that doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm not going to go for the long comments. Maybe they should have focused the cuts at the leadership level. That will have an immediate positive effect on operational costs while allowing the productive employees to continue working. Oh, and maybe scrap some of the redundant toy lines, like the myriad Transformers figures that don't transform, or the Nerf guns that are obviously made for adults. Well, see, the thing is, like, the cuts, it's the leadership that makes these decisions. And they're not going to opt to cut themselves. Like, they're this network of people who are as far away from not only the employees, but the consumers they're as far away from them as possible. So again, spreadsheets are all they look at. Numbers is all they have to worry about and all they look at. But and okay, that makes sense. But the actions they do and to offset these don't make sense. Like firing people from divisions that have actually made money. Like, are you scrapping the divisions themselves? I mean, man, this sucks. True. Meanwhile, the CEO doing this is earning tens of millions in pay and benefits. The system is beyond broken. Fire the people who have been there the longest and are earning the most. Then later hire new people earning much less due to the lack of experience. Also, make some adequate acquisitions of other companies and cherry pick which employees to keep based on salary. Yep, this is the strategy. And again, the product itself. I mean, I don't really care if people play Magic the Gathering, but I mean, I like to, I understand that these companies, they're not our best friend. They're not your best friend. They might put out a product you want, but they don't like you. They don't care for you. And some of the decisions made in the past to D&D and Magic the Gathering, like, reflects that. Like, they don't know what the consumer wants. They don't care. They just make money, and even if it means trashing their own division, they'll make even more fucking money. But I mean, that's all I gotta say about this. I mean, shitty that it's happening, but what do you do? See ya.